Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I will be giving talks on 2 sessions, and I will try to go very slowly so that we can have enough time to discuss and go through questions. An introduction to backtracking algorithms, some example problems. I will try to go through quite a lot of them, and some other techniques like how to use backtracking using stack and then branch and bound. So before I begin, I just want to know, I mean, how many of you have done any course on algorithms, or I mean, you have some knowledge about backtracking and stacks, data structures, just to know. So, okay, you all know. Okay, so some acknowledgements. So most of the slides and most of the materials are taken from internet, and so here are some of the links which I used to make the materials. So these are some from the Stanford, some from the Berkeley and those things, and you can also go through this YouTube link which shows some videos on backtracking algorithms, right? So some of the examples which I have taken, these are from the YouTube links. Okay, so before we begin, so I want to go through a very simple recursion. So what is recursion? Recursion is a very common computer algorithmic tactic or computer programming tool, where essentially what you do is you try to divide the problem. You have an original problem to solve, and what you do is you try to find out some sub-problem of that problem which is similar in essence to the original problem, and you use the solution of the sub-problem to find the solution of the original problem. So this is very similar to the divide and conquer method, which I think we already had some session on divide and conquer, which I think Nilima madam has taken. Right? So essentially what you do, you have the original problem, you try to create some sub-problems which are of smaller size, and you use the solution of the sub-problems to find the solution of the original problem. Right? And this is applicable where the solution of the problem depends on the solution to smaller instances of the original problem. So let's start with a very simple example of recursion, which is factorial. And so essentially for factorial n, I mean, I think all of you know that factorial n is the product of the first n natural numbers. So that's a very simple C or pseudocode for computing the factorial n. So if n is equal to 1, you return n, and if for any other n, you compute n times factorial n minus 1. Right? So essentially, so for example, if you want to compute factorial 5, we will call 5 times factorial 4, which will be 5 times 4 times factorial 3, and so on. And this is the call graph of the recursion routine. So you start with factorial 5, which will make call to factorial 4. So this is essentially factorial 5 is 5 times factorial 4. Factorial 4 will make a call to factorial 3, and so on. Right? So this is also called the call graph or the recursion tree. So you start from factorial 5 and then you go downwards till you go to factorial 1. And factorial 1 is the best case, which is written as 1. So here this is a very simple recursion where each recursive call that makes just one recursive call. Right? And if you know about complexity, the complexity of this recursion program is order n, because there are only n calls and each call is constant complexity. Okay, so some more complex recursions. So suppose we try to generate a permutation of a string. So suppose your input string is ABCD, and what we want to do is we want to find all possible permutations of ABCD. So your output should be ABCD, then it should be ABDC, ACBD, and so on, right? So that's our goal. Okay, so one obvious solution is to try brute force. We try to create permutations and then we report all the possible permutations. But let's try to do this by recursion. Right? So how do we do the recursion here? So if you have no more characters left to rearrange, so that's the best case. So you have permuted all possible 4 characters, for example in this case. Then you print the permutation, so that's the base case. And the recursion goes like this. So for every possible choice of characters, you take that character and permute the rest of the string, right? So for example, do you have a pointer? No.
Yeah.
So for example, here we start with ABCD, right? So at time step 1, The possible choices of the first character are A or B or C and D. So suppose you take here A, then the rest of the string is BCD here, and you will do a recursion on BCD. So similarly, the other possible choice is you take the first character as B, so the rest of the string is ACD, and you will do a permutation on ACD. Right? So that's the recursion here. Right? And then at the next level, you go down. You will take the first character here as B maybe, and do the permutation on the rest of the string, which is CD, and so on. So this will continue till you have no element left, no characters left, and that will give you all possible permutations. Right? So here, for example, one possible permutation is A here. You had taken A here, then B here, and then C and D. So that's one possible permutation, and so on.
Just switching it.
Yeah. So here, just a quick question. What is the? I mean, what are the number of leaf nodes here? Anybody? So what are the number of leaf nodes? That's the same as the number of permutations of the original string, right? Because every leaf node will give one possible permutation of the original string. So there are actually factorial of the. So if the string size is 4, there will be factorial 4 number of leaf nodes. Right? So yeah. So right now, so that's the recursion. But here, one thing you see that. The number of recursive calls is lot more. It's not one for every recursion call. For example, here the number of call graphs from ABCD is 4, depending on the size of the string, and so on. It keeps on reducing as you go down the chain. So, any questions on this recursion? Okay, so there is one possible idea, one possible stream where you want to optimize the number of recursive calls, right? So as you can see here, there are a lot of problems which are common, right? So for example here, when you try to compute ABCD, the permutations of ABCD, it calls for BCD and there it goes to CD, whereas the same subproblem is being called here. Right? So one optimization which has been done, which is very common in algorithms, is how to use the common subproblems and use the solution of one common subproblem to optimize the call of the other subproblem. Right? So the solution is don't recompute common subproblems. So anybody who knows this idea, what is this called? Yeah, dynamic programming. So I think you already had a session on dynamic programming. So that's dynamic programming. So how do you do not recompute common subproblems, right? So the other before going to backtracking, so this I already explained. So these are search trees. So the recursive call looks like this. So you start with a root node, right, and then you have these intermediate nodes, and then you have the leaf nodes, right? So just for example, what we had here. So here we have the root node, which is ABCD. Then these are the intermediate nodes, and finally you have the leaf nodes. Right, and so what happens in recursion? In recursion, what we do is we try to explore every possibility at every decision point. So we start with the root node, then we try out all possibilities. We try for all the intermediate nodes. Yeah. So we start from the root node, right, and then we try out all possibilities. We go to the intermediate nodes here, and then each of these intermediate nodes will lead to other intermediate nodes and finally leaf nodes. So that's the recursion where we try all possibilities and create the recursion trees as like this. Okay, so now the question is what happens when rather than finding all possible solution, we are interested in finding exactly one solution or maybe at most one solution. So in this case there is no need to compute all the leaf nodes. So whenever maybe you are satisfied with one leaf node, then you just terminate, right? So what you do is all the leaf nodes, these are either classified as good nodes or bad nodes, right? And whenever you search, you start from a root node, and whenever you try exploring the root node, and whenever you reach one leaf node which is good enough, you terminate. Right? So that's the idea for backtracking.
And is there a way of incorporating the knowledge into the, whatever decision you take, that, is there a way to ensure that you do not go too deep if there is a closer leaf node available?
Right. So So the thing is, you can then have all those minimax kind of algorithms where you can have, some kind of scores at every node, and depending on what scores you have, you can just go till the root node, till the leaf node. Right. So essentially, what you have here is you have the recursion tree, and you classify all the leaf nodes as good nodes or bad nodes. And whenever and the idea is you start from the root node, you try exploring the leaf nodes, and whenever you reach a leaf node which is good enough, you terminate. Right. So that's the idea, and this idea will be exploited in the backtracking algorithms. Right. So that's this is picked from some slide. So that's the overall idea of backtracking. So it's similar to recursion. So suppose at every node you have a number of choices to make, right? And every choice will lead to some intermediate nodes. And whenever you reach to an intermediate node, there will be a new set of decisions which you have to make, right? And then backtracking is a methodical way of finding out various sequences till you reach to a good goal node. Right? So that's the idea of backtracking. So obviously, one possible choice is, if you do this brute force method, then you can create all possible choices, and then depending on which choices lead you to good solution, you can pick one of them. But that's brute force. That will be always exponential. So the advantage of doing backtracking is, since you are doing this methodical way, it will many times improve the cost from exponential to not to runtime, not to linear or something, but in general, in practice, the cost will be reduced a lot. Not in the worst case, right? But in practical scenarios. The alternative is, if you have the brute force algorithm, then the one possibility is you will just create all possible permutations and then check if the permutation satisfies the goal node, right? And then we will keep on doing this. So that is always exponential. Whereas in the backtracking, the worst case is exponential, right? But in practical, since you are having this methodical way, and there will be some more choices of pruning, and which we will see later, then it will improve the running time in practical, not in the worst case. Right. So suppose, just revisiting the permutation problem. So suppose the original problem is you are not asked to generate all possible permutations of ABCD, but rather you are given a dictionary where you have some numbers. Maybe these are the numbers which are there in the dictionary, and we want to check if any permutation of ABCD belongs to the dictionary. Right. So now essentially what we did was, we had classified the leaf nodes, which are the possible permutations of this string, into good nodes and bad nodes. Right. So what we say, whenever a node is good, it means that the permutation belongs to the dictionary, and the node is bad means the permutation does not belong to the dictionary. Right. And now the objective is to determine if the node belongs to a good node. Right. So that's the idea. So here one possible choice of backtracking is, you will start from maybe ABCD, you will try to create one possible permutation of ABCD, maybe this is A, right? And so here this string is actually, you have A and then you have B, right? But since there are no strings which begin with ABCD, then you can stop here. So we will see this in details later, but yeah. So that's the idea of permutation, that whenever you find maybe one string which belongs to the dictionary. So here this is the string here, right? So which is actually A, then it's C, then it's BD, right? Or yeah, so this is the string here, which is ABBC. Then you will just stop. So you won't explore all the remaining child. Yeah, so we will see this in detail later, so don't worry about this. Okay, so essentially backtracking is like this. You will start from a root node, and then you will try to go to some intermediate node, and then we will try to start exploring all the intermediate nodes, right, one at a time. So we will start from here and see that this is a dead end, so we will come back to the node just before the dead end, and then we will start again exploring what was before, right, and go there. Right, so the idea is we will try to explore a node, the choices of the node, and whenever you find a dead end, you will come back to the last junction. Right?
This is just like a hill climbing.
This is just like a hill climbing, yeah. Right, and yeah, so on, this is a big animation. And finally, you may have success. Whenever you have success, you will stop. Right? Yeah. So, any idea, any questions on the intuitions and? Okay.
In neural network, we also would like to adjust the weight.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, this backtracking is also used in neural networks. So, yeah. Right, so the idea here is not to obtain the global optimum, just some solution which satisfies the properties, right? So yeah, we will see some problems where you try to find the global optimum also. Yeah, that we will see later. Right, so that's the overall pseudocode. So at every node we try to explore that intermediate node. Right. So if n is the goal node, so suppose you are exploring node n, so if n is the goal node, we will return success, and if n is any other node, which is any other leaf node, then we will return failure, or we will go back to the previous dead end. And for every child c of n, we will explore c, and if c was successful, we will return success, else we will go back. Right. So that's the idea. So return failure means we will go back to the previous junction. Right. Okay, so now the next thing is,
Previous slide once again.
yeah,
So if n is the goal node, you return success. If n is any other leaf node, then you have already encountered a failure and you are at a dead end. So you have to backtrack. Right?
you have to backtrack. So return failure means you have to backtrack
But is
actually.
it for each child c of n then explore c?
So this is for any intermediate node, right?
Yeah, but n is a leaf node, right?
So if n is a goal node, so the first two cases are for leaf node,
Okay. Oh, so these are.
and this is for intermediate nodes.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought they were in sequence.
So these two cases are for leaf node. This is for intermediate.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah, and return failure in this case means you will backtrack. So we will go back to the previous junction.
No, I thought 2 and 3 I considered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so the next section I will try to go through some example problems, and we will try to generate the codes of some of the example problems. Right? Okay, so this is a very common problem. So the idea is there is a maze given, right? It's like a 2D matrix or something, and some of the entries are maybe 1, some of the entries are 0. So 1 means you are allowed to go to that cell, and 0 means you are not allowed. And the idea is that you have to start from maybe the top left corner, and you have to go to the bottom right corner, right? And you have to find a path to go from the top left to the bottom right corner. And at every intersection you have this, you have the different choices. You can either go up, you can either go down, left and right. Right. So maybe this is an example of a maze, and so this is the route. So you start from here and you have to go here, and maybe one possible route is like this. Right. So at every point there may be 4 possible choices. You can go either maybe here you can go either left, either right, down or up, right? So for every possible point you can go, there may be 4 possible choices. Right, and you don't have the information to choose correctly, so you have to do a kind of heuristics, whatever the decision you take, and each choice leads to another set of choice. So for example, this is maybe a junction, and here for this junction there are 2 portions. You can either go to portion A, which is this portion, or you can go to position B, which is downwards. So here, for example, you have two choices, actually three choices. You could have gone left also for this point, right? And you have to take one of the choices, and each choice will lead to another sequence of choices. Right? Yeah, so one strategy would be to try portion A of the maze, so which is this portion, and suppose you try portion A's and go to a dead end. So you are nowhere. I mean, suppose you try portion A, and go down here. So there is no choice of going forward. So you meet a dead end. Then you have to backtrack. So you have to go back to the last junction, which may be here, and then you try portion B, because portion A will not lead you out of the maze. So that's the idea of backtracking. So you will start with one choice, and whenever that choice meets with some dead end, then you will go back to the other choice. Yeah, so clearly at every junction you can have more than two choices. For example, here you have 4 choices. The backtracking strategy says to try each choices one after another, and if you get stuck, then you backtrack to the junction, to the last junction, and try the next choice. Right. So we will try to create the codes of each of these problems, and we will see how the code works. Right. Okay, so the next problem is coloring a map, which is like you are given a map where each of these have different countries, maybe different countries, and you want to color these maps using a minimum number of colors. Right. So yeah, so the idea is adjacent countries should have different colors. So if there is a country which is at boundary of another country, they should be given different colors. Right. Yeah, so the 4-color theorem says that if you have a planar graph, and if you any map on the plane that can be colored using 4 colors, so that no two countries which share a common border have the same color. But the question is, how do we want to color the map? Which colors we will give to each countries? Right? So here also we can use backtracking. So the idea is again same, that you will start coloring with a map, the countries with a color, and whenever you get stuck, you will go back to the previous colors. Right? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so this is another problem which is very common, which is I think called brain vita or something, where initially you have all these boxes filled with the coins other than one, and you try to hop one coin, and whenever you hop a coin, you will the coin which you hop, that gets eliminated from the board. And the idea is to reach to one coin. Right? So that's also a very common problem. And the objective is which coins you pick at every point. Right? Yeah, so that's the problem. In this puzzle, all holes but one are filled with white pegs, and then initially you just you try to jump pegs. Maybe I jump this peg over here, so this will get eliminated. Right? And the idea is to boil down to only one peg. Yeah, you have to so you have to eliminate all but one. So you have here you are starting, you have all but one. This is not filled. The rest are all filled.
The black one is to be preserved.
No, the black one is, there is no coin in the black one. So all the whites are coins, right? So this is empty. The black one is empty. All the whites are coins. These are coins.
You have to remove all but one coin.
You have to remove, so yeah, you have to remove all but one coin. So you will maybe you can hop the coins. Maybe the first option, maybe you can try this one and hop it to here. So you can hop only at an empty place.
I see.
Right? So you can start with from here. You can take this coin and hop this coin. Go here, and whenever you hop, this coin gets eliminated.
Okay.
So you create one more empty space, right? And the objective is to remove all but one coins. Yeah, so here also the idea is, I mean, which coins you pick at every step.
You can say backtracking for such problems, I mean, constraint of the following kind, wherein you are required to do it in a number of steps, because I mean with backtracking
You cannot.
right?
Right. So yeah, backtracking, I mean, obviously, I mean, the algorithm depends on your choice at every step,
Exactly.
right? So if you are,
Stop whenever
yeah.
irrespective of the number
Yeah,
of steps.
yeah. So whenever, I mean, if you are doing bad choices, then yeah, that's possible. Right? So that's the idea. So, so the next, what we will try is we will use the board and we will try out some examples. We will try to write the pseudocodes of some problems, right? Okay. Yeah. So the problem is clear. The puzzle is clear. Yeah. So right. So for example, so what you can do is, I mean, the Brain Vita algorithm.
Where do you stand initially actually, probably? Where are you initially?
Right. So the root node will be this configuration, right? Where you have all these coins here, and this is only the empty place, right?
Initial can be from any four sides. That is not a problem. No? Initial we can jump from any place.
Any four sides.
But how do we? I mean, does this kind of a game allow backtracking?
Yes.
Once we have removed the peg, we are not supposed to put it back in the game.
Right. But see, you can solve it offline, and then you can use the solution to play the game. Right.
Okay. What we do is we envision what are going to be the steps, and
Right.
then we.
So you find the offline solution and then use that solution to go to the one solution, to the one peg. So that's the idea. So this is not online, so you're not using backtracking to play it online, right?
Basically, the roots of the nodes in the tree will be
Some configurations, yeah, some configuration of this pointer.
Possible combinations.
Yeah,
That is what we need.
exactly. And then you figure out which is a good combination to follow that one.
That's okay. I thought we can backtrack. So I was thinking.
No. So these are online. So you will use backtracking to find one solution, and then use that solution to play the game. There is.
Problem I was talking about. Is that just like that? In a problem also.
This one?
That we go back.
8 queens problem, yeah. 8 queens.
Problem also we start to go back and then.
Yes. So yeah. So that is, I mean, all these are offline. So I mean, 8 queens also it's offline. So you find the solution, you use that. Okay, so yeah, so I will try to give some example, maybe 1 or 2 examples of how do we code this kind of algorithms, and then move on to the next section. Right, so is it fine if I write here or? Okay, so suppose we want to find this solution, which is solving the maze, right? And you are given this maze, and maybe these are the possible ones, right? And maybe there are some more ones somewhere, right? So the idea is, I mean, whenever if it's 1, then that cell is allowed, so you can enter that cell, and if it's 0, then you cannot enter that cell, right? Right? So the idea is you want to solve maze, maybe starting from 0, 0, and maybe your output is some solution. So A is this grid, and solution is your solution which you want, right?
Can you write it basically what it's not visible?
Want another pen?
No, I want a duster.
Behind you.
Okay. Okay, suppose we have this maze. Right. Which is this grid A, and Aij is 0 or 1 depending on whether you can visit cell A, cell Ij or not, right? So if Aij is 0, that means that this is you cannot enter cell 0, that cell. If Aij is 1, which means that you can enter cell Ij. And the objective is to visit, starting from this point, you have to go to the end point. Right. So this is clear, right? Visible. Right. So this is the routine we want to figure out, which is solve maze. A 0 0 is the starting point, and then solution is the solution which you want, the path which you want, right? And how do we solve this? So we write a routine for which is kind of is safe or is allowed for Ij, which is kind of this should be return 1.
So please write it bigger, it's not visible.
Right, we will use some auxiliary routine which is kind of is allowed. This is fine now, right? So which will be 1, return 1 if Aij is equal to 1 and I is within the limits. Right. So we will use this auxiliary function. So this is nothing but says that okay, a particular cell Ij is fine if Aij is 1, right, and I is Ij are within the boundary, nothing else, right. And how do we do backtracking? We will so suppose we are at cell. So this is the backtracking routine. So this will be a recursive routine which will use Ij as parameter, right? Ij will be used as recursion, and the idea is at a particular cell. So suppose I am at this point, I will try to explore maybe first right, then down, maybe then left, and then up. Maybe this is the order I choose, and I use this order to make the choices, right? So when I am at cell Ij, then first I will try to see if I can go to I plus 1j, then I will try to see if this is fine, then I will proceed on this path. If this is not fine, then I will come back here and then I will again try maybe ij plus 1, then I will try I minus 1j, and then I will try ij minus 1, right. So these are the 4 possible choices which I will make one after another. So whenever I am at ij, then what I do, I first set solution ij is equal to 1. So this is just to make sure that I am included ij in my path, right? So this is the final result which I will print out, right? So I will just set solution ij is equal to 1 so that I make sure that ij is included in my path, and then I will try to explore I plus 1j first, right? So I will say that right? I as the row number, yeah.
Then shouldn't it be the other way around of the next person?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so maybe I will first try ij plus 1, which is kind of this. So you can try any order, that doesn't matter, right? So I will try, if ij plus 1 is fine, then I will, this is also fine, right? If this is not, then I will next try and so on for the other two things, and if none of them are possible, then I will just go back. Right? This is fine. Any questions on this? Okay, so there is one catch here. So what is the catch? Maybe you had, so this is recursion, right? So maybe I had visited ij from this cell. So then we don't want to go back to this cell, right? Because that will lead to a cycle. So whenever you call this, you have to make sure that solution ij plus 1, that should be 0, right? So this is clear. Any questions on the pseudocode? Right. So yeah. So as I said that, so whenever you are, since ij is a recursive call, you may have visited ij from the cell ij plus 1, right? So
Keeping an option to go to ij minus 1.
yeah. So there will be two more calls. So there will be two other calls.
I think one more will be because from one place, one is the place that we are coming from.
Right. So this is ij minus 1. Right, and yeah, so as you said,
If one of the cells is already being stored.
right, so you can, so whenever you check, so whenever you call this, you have to make sure that the cell which you are calling has already not been visited, right? And one possible way of checking this is you can check this solution variable, right? So you have to, whenever you make a call, you have to check that solution of that cell should be 0, which is not yet visited. Then only you can visit that cell, then only you can make that call, right? And finally the backtracking is this is the backtracking step. So since you failed for all of the positions, then you have to backtrack from this point. So which you do by setting solution ij to 0. Right?
We initialize the
Yeah, so we
matrix with some value.
with zeros initially.
Zeros, then that will mean you cannot visit any other cell because solution ij.
Yeah, so
Maybe we can initialize to minus 1 plus 1.
No, right? You can visit because so if solution ij plus 1 is equal to 0, then only you can go to that cell.
Then we can.
Yeah.
No, but if we have failed all possibilities for one of the cells, I think we want to visit that cell again. Some other-
Yeah, so maybe through some other path, right? Yeah, so what you are saying is that's actually DP. So essentially, I mean, what you can do is you can keep some information, right? So here, so that's an optimization. So what you can do is you can, so since you have already used these subproblems, you have already solved a subproblem, right? You already know that you are not able to reach from solution from the cell ij to that maze. Then you can keep this information in some other table.
Or what if we keep initialize everything with -1 if we
Okay.
haven't visited it ever,
Okay,
and then if it fails, then 0.
Right. Yes.
Successful so far, then
yes, that's a very good solution. But essentially, what you are saying is, I mean, it's more like a DP. So that's optimization which you do in kind of dynamic programming, where I mean, essentially what you can do is you can store in a table. So instead of solving, so here the problem is you are solving the same subproblem, right? So whenever you are calling it again, then you will solve the same subproblem.
then in this case we may even get stuck.
You won't get stuck eventually because you will again come out of that. So what you are saying is like that you have this kind of calls, right, which lead you to a solution, maybe some cell ij, and from there you came to know that this is a dead end, right? And then you did a backtracking, and from other path you again came to ij, right? And then what you are saying is, okay, then why do we explore ij again? Because you already know that it's dead end, right? But essentially it's kind of, you are, I mean, even if you do, it's the same subproblem. It's the same subproblem. If you solve this again, you are actually solving the same subproblem. So one optimization you can do is you can use this solution, what you are saying. You can use a table or you can use some kind of value, which will know that there is ij cannot go to the solution. ij will always go to the dead end. You can keep this information somewhere, right? But essentially what you are doing here is you are not solving the same subproblem.
And maybe I'm picturing this wrong, but can't we get stuck into a cycle? Like,
No, right? Why? Because from here you will again go back. So from here this will be dead end, right? And then if this is a dead end, then you will again go to the next option from here. Right? So if there is a path, you will eventually get a path.
So, I mean, the condition which says that solution, you can get into it only if solution value for that particular cell is 0. That is to ensure that you do not get into the
Right.
That is precisely for ensuring you do not get into cycle.
Right.
Right? You don't visit you can visit only an unvisited
whatever we
cell.
have visited on our path would be 1.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So you do not come back to it.
You do not come back, right? So that is taken care by the solution. That whenever you call a cell, you have to make sure that it is not already visited.
I just want you to, what Rochna proposed would be also a good solution.
That's a good solution. That's essentially what she is saying is why.
-1. Yeah. Initialization
Yeah.
-1.
Yeah.
So you don't even need an additional information.
Yeah.
That we also called as DP.
That is kind of DP, right? I mean, because you are essentially what you are trying to do is here you are having the same subproblem. So this is, if you see the call tree, so here you are calling the same subproblem, and what you are trying to say is, I mean, why use the same solution of the same subproblem over and over again? So you just solve it once and use that information to solve the other subproblems. So that's essentially DP, right?
So DP essentially tells you that
Save some information somewhere, so and you are saving it in the -1 zeros. So that's the DP actually. So any other questions on this? So how are we on time? 30 minutes.
Yeah, we still have time. Yeah, half an hour.
Okay. So this is fine, or any other questions on this? Okay, graph coloring we will do later, maybe subset sum we can do. Okay, so the problem is like this, that you are given a, I think people saw this problem before also in DP maybe. So given a set of numbers S and some positive number K, check if any subset of S adds up to K. right? So for example, you are given this set S, and maybe the number is, okay, this should be M. M is 35, and one possible solution is you take 15, 20, which is a subset of this set, and which adds up to 35. Another solution may be 5, 12, 18, which also adds up to 35, and so on. So you can report any set which is a subset of S and which adds up to 35. Okay. So here what we will try to show is, we will show how we can prune the tree using backtracking, right? This will be some optimization of the original algorithm. Okay, so yeah. So as before, I mean, it will be similar. So what we will do is, we will first of all sort the numbers, maybe in some non-decreasing order. So here, for example, AC is already sorted. So maybe we'll take a small example. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So let's take a smaller example. Maybe that's easier. S is 2, 3, 4, 5, and M is 7. Right?
So what is M?
M is K. Sorry about that. M is K. Right? Okay, so the backtracking initially will be like this. So you set up numbers xi's. So xi is equal to 1 or 0 if you pick number I. Right, in your solution. Right. So we will create the trees as follows. So we'll maybe so initially we'll take x1. Okay, so what we have done is, we have sorted the numbers in a non-decreasing order. So this is now x1, this is now number 1, n1, n2, n3 and n4, and we have set these variables xi is equal to 1 if you pick 1 in your solution, if you pick ni in your solution, and it's 0 elsewhere, right? And we try to create this this recursion tree, which is like, initially if you pick, you have this node, if you pick x1 in your solution, then the solution is 2, right? You already have picked 2, and if you have not picked, then it's 5. You have not picked any solution. Then if you pick n2, which is like, it will be 5 here, you have not picked either of x1 or x2, and if you pick x2 here, then the solution is 3, right? So here it will be 2, here it will be 3, 2, 3. So this is clear, right? So you have this, you have starting from here root node. So if x1 is equal to 0, then you have not picked 2, so your solution is 5. And if x1 is equal to 1, then you have picked 2 in your solution, then your solution is 2. Right? And then you are trying to create this solution depending on what are the xi values. So the normal backtracking, what it will do is, it will try to explore some paths. Maybe it will try to explore this path first, and then it will find out if the solution sums up to 7. If it sums up to 7, then it will return, else it will go back to the next junction, right? So just to give an example here, this is 5, this is 5. This is 3. Right, so here you have not picked x1, so this is 5. Here you have picked x1, so this is 2. So from here you have not picked any element, so this is again 5, and here you have picked x2. So it was 5 and you have picked x2, so the solution is 3, right, and so on. So now the backtracking algorithm, the normal backtracking algorithm will do like this. It will start maybe on the left hand side. It will take x1 is equal to 0, x2 is equal to 0, and so on. It will find out 5. Then it will say that okay, 5 does not sum up to 7, then it will go back here, and then it will set x4 is equal to 1, then it will get 5, and here also it's fails, so it will go back to the next junction and so on. Right, this is fine, right, backtracking algorithm. But here we can do some kind of pruning, right? So what can be the pruning? So for example, suppose you are at a particular intermediate node, and maybe that node is some quantity, maybe ni times xi, right, for that node. Right. For example, here maybe for this node, it's the sum of ni times xi, which is kind of 2 into x1 plus 3 into x2, which is 5, right? So now one possible check is if summation ni times xi, maybe I is equal to 1 to k, plus maybe ni plus 1, if this is more than m, right, or summation okay, so summation ni times xi is the amount of the sum which you have currently in your solution. And if you find out that okay, if you pick all the remaining numbers, then only you cannot, then also you cannot reach m, right? So then there is no possible, there is no need to explore that subtree. Right? For example, suppose you have not included any of these, right? Maybe here you are here x1, x2, x3 is equal to 5. Then even if you include the next element or not, then you are not going to reach 7 because the total sum is less than 7. So there is no need to explore these two cells, right? So whenever you are here, you know that you cannot reach 7. So you can straight away cancel all the remaining subtree, right? So that's the kind of pruning which we do. The other pruning is this equation where you say that okay, you have reached some cell, and if you include the next element, then also you are exceeding m. And since all these elements are in increasing order, right, so whatever element you include later, you will just exceed m. So there is no need to explore these subtrees. So that you will come to know here only, right? So whenever you are you have reached all the three. Yeah.
Is it necessary to make it a binary structure?
So in this case, I mean, the way we have done it, it will be binary, because at every step we are selecting either you are taking one variable or you are not taking one variable, right? So here it will be binary. But whenever you have these conditions at a particular node, then you can just print out that node, whatever be the subtree at that node. So these conditions are clear, right? So this condition says that, okay, whenever you have selected some elements, and if you add the next element, then you are exceeding, right? So why is this works? Because these are in increasing order. So if you include any other element from the remaining, then you will exceed. And this constraint says that you have included some elements, and even if you include all of the remaining, then also you are not able to reach m. Right? So you can just cancel all the remaining subtrees. So this is an example of backtracking where you have this pruning mechanism.
Essentially, you are saying that putting in an extra
Condition.
n log n, you end up doing all the same amount through pruning.
Yes,
Because
through pruning.
the list wasn't sorted.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have an additional complexity of sorting, which is n log n, but that will save in pruning. I mean, that will.
So how would you rate the backtracking algorithm particularly for the success sum problem as against DP
Right.
for practical purposes?
Yeah, so see, subset sum, I mean, it's NP hard, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's fine. But
so in practical purposes, I mean, I'm not sure. So maybe
Searching, etc. Searching also.
even the DP solution is a pseudo-polynomial.
it's a pseudo-polynomial, right?
Pseudo-polynomial, right?
So you won't be able to get any polynomial solution. But yes, right. So for example, I mean, if these quantities are less, right, then DP will be good enough, right? Because I mean, it's pseudo-polynomial, right? So if these values are less,
Yeah.
then DP will be good enough. But this is always exponential. I mean, this may always go exponential.
So maybe
So in general, DP is always preferred over backtracking in general, right?
Is there a specific problem, where backtracking is used for DP, or we can use backtracking alone without some flavor of DP, for storing intermediate results?
Right. So this will be
Specific problem.
that will be mainly anything's problem. Where I mean, essentially, I mean, if you want to do DP, then that won't give you any additional saving. Rather, you have to store the intermediate tables, right? Which will be some exponential, which will be, I mean, kind of costly.
Going back to an earlier question, how are we pruning in n log n?
We are not pruning n log n. So we are having this additional complexity of sorting the cell, sorting the set, right? Which is n log n.
putting in this extra effort in sorting, you save so much through pruning.
You say you are saving in pruning.
Sorted, then you could have done this pruning, right?
So this step is only applicable if you have sorted, right? Then only you can use this pruning.
So the input has to be necessarily sorted.
Yeah, so even if you don't have if you want to use this pruning, this step for pruning, then you have to have the input sorted.
That's what I was wondering, if adding n I plus 1 makes this LHS greater than n, there might be some other element.
Yeah, because this is sorted, so that's why. Right. Yeah, so that's what Sonika is saying, that by adding this complexity of sorting,
I am moving down some path, maybe we pick one element and then jump a few in between and try some other.
right? So, but you have to have some kind of systematic way of doing this. I mean, you cannot,
I picked,
right? I mean, you have to have some kind of systematic.
Even if you're using backtracking to decide on a strategy.
You have to have some kind of system, else, I mean, you won't be exploring all possibilities, right? Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, and maybe we can go over graph packaging. I mean, it will be very similar to the maze problem actually. Just to give an outline. So up to this is clear, right? Okay, so essentially you are given a graph GVE, and again you are given maybe a color m, number n, and you have to see whether you can color the vertices using at most m colors. Right. So what you do? So just like the mesh coloring problem, you will have a routine which is kind of is allowed maybe. And argument will be some G, some vertex V, and maybe some color C, which will return true if V can be colored C based on color of remaining vertices. So yeah, and now what we do is we will order the vertices in some order, maybe V1, V2, V3, Vm. So this is the order, and for every step we will pick one vertex and try to color it. So that's algorithm. So for I is equal to 1 to m, we will try to color. So it will be some kind of recursion. So let's do like this. Color VI. So we'll try to give color M. Okay, so this is not correct. Let's go to 1 to M. So we'll try to give color of 0 and then 1. So initialize VIs. So what you do is initialize the colors of all the vertices with zeros, and whenever you want to color a particular vertex VI, then what you do is you set the color of Ci to the current color plus 1, or do you know m plus 1, and if Ci is 0, then you return false. You have to backtrack, right? So return false. Else you will color, you will try to recursively call color Vi plus 1. So that's more or less the routine, right? So what you do is you set the colors of all the vertices of this graph to 0 initially. So none of the vertices are colored, and then I try to call a recursive routine V, which is indexed on I is the vertex number. So essentially what inside this routine what you try to do is you set the color of vertex I. So you set the color of vertex I to the current color plus 1 modulo m, right? And then you recursively call color Vi plus 1. So if this is false, then go back, then do. Right? So if this is false, then you go back and change the color, try the next color for Ci, and continue till you get any color, or if you back to 0, then you have to go back to the previous step. Right? So you have to go backtrack from this stage. This is fine, or any questions on the routine?
Yeah, so I have a question. I'm not sure if it is right or not, but can I use this part of the model?
Yes, yes.
So suppose
Yeah.
suppose I have a situation wherein this is the node that I'm looking at,
Yes.
and it has 4 colors, right? Four
Yeah.
neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So it has already 2 neighbors with different colors, maybe red and black,
Yes.
right? So I have to decide which color to give to this node, and I have 2 options, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now suppose that, so we have blue color. So suppose this guy has another node which is also a blank node as of now. It has not been colored,
Okay.
right? And this guy happens to have some neighbor, say blue, right? Now I have 2 colors remaining, say C1 and C2, and I ask myself, I'm standing at this node, and
Yes.
I'm asking myself whether I can give this color blue or not.
Blue or not? Yes. So that will be yes.
No, not blue. Suppose C1 is blue,
Yes.
and I ask myself if I can color this C2. So I
C2.
get an answer yes.
Yes.
Because C2 is besides all these.
Yes.
Okay. So I color this C2,
Right.
but
And then you go to the next vertex.
I go to this vertex,
Yes.
right? Now this has a neighbor C1, C2,
Right.
and suppose it had 2 other neighbors, red and black.
Yes.
So I have no more color left for this now.
You have no more color for this. Then you will backtrack, right?
I will back.
Yes.
Acha, okay.
You will backtrack to here.
So I will backtrack here and I will decide C1 for this then.
C1 for this. Yes.
Oh, so the order in which I am
traversing
traversing nodes is
the-
important.
is important.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So there will be one more check here that if it's allowed, then only you can color.
You have to transition.
So if this is allowed, if CI is allowed, if is allowed. Yeah. Some questions first. Right. So whenever you try to color, you will check that if it's allowed to color CI. So I missed that. You will return this. You will check that if it's allowed, then only you can color, and then you recursively call the routine on CI plus 1. Any questions on this? So maybe we will break here. Maybe. Yeah, and in the next section we will try to see the NPins problem, backtracking using stack, and then some branch and bound.